All right, Mosher's here. Let's get his thoughts. Final day before the draft tomorrow, and Geoff Mosher is with us now on the Sports Bash for another edition of Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live. All right, man, tomorrow it's finally here. I said it's bittersweet because it's kind of like the end of football for a little while. Right now, this is like the kicking off point to where football kind of goes into its hibernation for a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I think when the schedule comes out in a week or two, you'll get a little bit of an uptick, and everybody will do they're going to beat this team. We'll get all of our kicks out of that, and then basically after that, that changed when OTAs became less relevant, less attended, negotiated down, and then less media access. So it's not like it used to be.
It's not what it used to be, but obviously the draft tomorrow night. So let's get into this. Last night, I was the picker for the Eagles on a mock draft show out in Vegas. Q Myers had me on as the Eagles picker. Now, he does this the whole month leading up to the draft. So everybody had made their picks, and I was the 32nd guest, and I was the Eagles picker last night. I sprinted to the podium when I saw that Walter Nolan was not picked yet by any team. So, Geoff Mosher, let's start with there. How possible is it, do you think, this goes the Eagles' way and that he would be their number one choice?
I would say not impossible, but not likely. I don't give percentages or anything, but I just think he's too talented of a player, top defensive tackle in the draft, and the character red flags aren't as bad as far as, he hasn't done anything illegal. It's not that bad. There's just some question marks about how some of the decisions he's made off the field, what he's done in his life. So he fits a lot of different schemes, and he's such a, you're looking for defensive tackles. A lot of teams are looking for defensive tackles that can rush the passer from the interior. They want their Milton Williams. They want their Fletcher Cox. They want their Jalen Carter, who can do both, and he can do that. So I just don't think he's going to fall that far, Mike.
I don't know where you stand on Mike Green. His name has come up. He obviously has some off-the-field stuff, pretty major off-the-field stuff. This isn't, hey, I transferred 5 times, I'm late to practice. This has to do with some major off-the-field stuff. Would you think that he would be a guy the Eagles have done their homework on, or would they just take him right off their board?
Yeah, that's a tough one. The Eagles do value character. They'll take a little bit of a risk. They did with Jalen Carter, so long as they feel like the kid is a good kid and has learned from his lessons and have a good infrastructure. They no longer have Brandon Graham. They no longer have Jason Kelsey. They no longer have Fletcher Cox. So they've gotten pretty young overnight. Not to say they don't have good leaders. Jalen Hurts is a great leader, and Lane Johnson's a great leader, Mailata, but it's just not those three who've been around for a while. So they do value edge rusher, but I think because of what they look for in character early on in the draft, it would all depend on how they felt about Mike Green's situation, and if it was not what it's perceived to be, or if it is. I think that I have a tendency. I think this: if his off-field situation isn't as bad, if it's good enough for the Eagles to be satisfied, then it's probably going to be good enough for somebody picking higher than the Eagles, and he should go higher than 32.
I want to throw a couple names your way and just kind of feel you out on these possibilities. Mason Taylor, if he is there, is he someone they're interested in 32?
Yeah, 32 is high for Mason Taylor. He is seen as a top 50 pick for sure, top 60 pick. There could be a scenario, Mike, where you get to 32 and a lot of the guys you like and valued there are not there on the D-line or pass rush or O-line, although I doubt that'll be the case. And then you take him, or you try to move back and see if you can still take him, but you can't move back too much.
I'm trying to. I'm looking through mock drafts that I saw all this week of players that were in mock drafts to Philadelphia. So these are the guys I'm kind of throwing your way. The other one, another one is Maxwell Harrison, who is a corner, and I would be surprised if they went that route at 32. Would you be?
No, not at all. not at all, because that's a premier position. It's a position of value. And, with Darius Slay gone, their battle right now at left cornerback is between a 4th-round pick in Keely Ringo and 29-year-old journeyman free agent in Adoree Jackson. If you told me a guy like Maxwell Harrison is there at 32, who many, many teams I've spoken to have valued as a first-round pick, and we know that they want to keep Cooper DeJean in the slot, I think that would be absolutely a player that I could see them taking at 32. Maybe not ahead of some other guys we might mention, but if he's there, I could definitely see it.
Yeah, I want to get I think I talked to maybe Adam or Andrew about this. I'm not sure I asked you about it, but how much is Vic Fangio's scheme play into the guy they draft at 32? Or period?
Yeah, no, I think period's a good question. Take safety, for example. Nick Amenwori is going to be a first-round pick for sure, if not like top 40. This is a guy who is, Mike, he's not only yoked up and athletic as crazy, but, he's sort of like the Cam Chancellor. Remember Cam Chancellor from the Seahawks when they won? He's 6'3", 227. And the ability for him to run and test at that size is going to tantalize a lot of teams. But I spoke to some teams who I know either used to, guys who used to work with Vic Fangio or have in the past or know his tendencies. And what Vic has typically looked for in a safety, Mike, is the kind of safety who can also play nickel, like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, right? The smaller guy, the smaller, more rangy guy who can be a hybrid nickel/safety, not necessarily the safety who's a /hybrid linebacker, like Amenwori could be. So when I think of safeties that fit Vic Fangio's scheme based on what he's had in the past, guys like Eddie Jackson or C.D. Gardner-Johnson or Dante Hittner, they've all been like 5'11", 6 foot, 200, 202, right? So that's more like Andrew Makuma from Texas or Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. I'm not sure Nick Amenwori is a guy who would really be the apple of their eye, even though he's a great player and tests great and everything. He just might not be the right fit.
All right, a couple other ones here. Let's get some mailbag questions for Geoff Mosher. We'll try to hit on some of those. Got some other things we want to get onto as well. These were from what were supposed to be for you on Monday, but you were not on Monday's show. These are the Mosher mailbag questions from Monday. Do the Eagles stay put at 32, or does Howie Roseman try to move up into the 20s for, quote-unquote, this guy?
Well, this guy would be Walter Nolan, right, that we just talked about for all the reasons why you want to move up. I could see it happening, but I have a feeling, like I said, I don't think Walter's going to fall that far. So in order to move up to get him, then you got to talk about giving up maybe like a 2, a 3, something like that to really move up, because it's not moving up 32 to 27. It might be moving up 32 to like 19, 20, 21.
Okay, so in your mind, how much does having the 20 picks over the 2 years this is an interesting conversation of they have 20 picks over the 2 years.
Yeah.
Trading back means you're adding more picks. I mean, so does that almost not make sense? Like, hey, we have 20 picks. What are we going to do with all these picks? Hey, we'll trade out of the first round and get more picks. Or to say, hey, we have 20 picks. Let's use some of those picks to go get the guy we really want. Which makes more sense?
Yeah, I would think that the opportunity to move up or move up in multiple rounds, multiple times because of what they have. You're right. They've got so many picks, 20 picks. You can't add 20 new players over the course of 2 years. You only have a 53-man roster. That's like almost, 40. I don't know. I'm bad at math, but that's a lot. It's like almost 40, not maybe over 40, but less than 50% of your roster. You're not going to have in draft picks over the next 2 years. So yes, it gives you the opportunity to package picks and a player. Maybe that happens over the 3-day event or right after. So we'll see. It definitely gives Howie ammunition.
Yeah, one of the questions here, this one's from Ron in Sea Isle, says, would it be smarter for the Eagles to trade out of 32 for more day 2 picks, given how deep this draft is? My twist to that would be, what about future picks? You have 20 this year, but this could be a year where the Eagles say, hey, we'll take instead of a third this year or next year, we'll take a second in 2026 or 7.
Well, I don't know if the Eagles want too many future picks. I think the Eagles wouldn't mind giving up a future pick because they know they're going to get a bunch of comp picks next year.
No, I'm not talking about for next year's draft. I'm talking about like 2027, even maybe 2028.
Possibly. It's unconventional, but it could happen. I don't remember too many trades like that, but we'll see.
Yeah. Geoff Mosher, football at 4 here. All right, let's get this one here. This one's from Stephen Wildwood. Is a rotational edge rusher or defensive tackle enough value, or do you wait until the second round to get your defensive line help?
Well, is defensive tackle value? I mean, that's one of the positions the Eagles value the most, is it?
I would think so. I think at 32.
Is he saying, okay, so this question is assuming that at 32 you're taking a rotational edge rusher and not a starting edge rusher, I guess?
Yeah, there you go. Or is a rotational edge rusher or defensive tackle at 32 enough value, or should they wait until the second round for defensive lineup? So, yeah, he's basically saying if the guy's not an every down player, do you take a guy in the first round who's a rotational guy?
Well, I wouldn't take somebody in the first round if I didn't see them as a eventual 3-down lineman. They don't have to be right away. But, I mean, first round, you're talking about a guy who's going to battle against Moro Ojomo, who has never been a 3-down defensive tackle in the NFL. So you have to give the benefit of the doubt, whoever you're going to take in the first round, that guy has a top 50 grade on him, and he's going to go in there and win that job right away.
All right, here you go. I know. I think I might know your answer here, but would you be surprised if the Eagles use pick 32 on a safety, despite rarely drafting that position?
Yeah, I would be. I just don't think – I think with the depth that there is at D-tackle, at edge rusher, offensive line, I don't think the Eagles are going to deviate here, Mike. I think they're going to eat their vegetables like they always do, which is don't do the sexy thing. Go interior defensive line, go offensive line, edge rusher, although edge rusher is kind of like sexy for some people. But, safety to me is a guy that you're taking in the second or the third round. And you might maneuver up. If you want that Xavier Watts, if you want Makuba, then you maybe have to move up from that 64, but they have so much ammunition they can do that.
All right, so Jordan Schultz reporting a little while ago, the Eagles are declining the fifth-year option on Dotson, which answers goes into this question. Could the Eagles target a wide receiver 3 at 32?
Target, meaning like could they look to get one? No. But if Luther Burden or Ted McMillan is sitting there at 32 because for whatever reason those guys weren't valued and slid, then it's kind of hard to say no to someone you might already have a first-round grade on when you're sitting at 32.
Yeah, so, the fifth-year option thing for Dotson, that's not a surprise, as you kind of indicated there. But does it say, hey, I was on with McMullen this morning. He said he wouldn't be shocked if they tried to trade Dotson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of value Jahan Dotson has.
Not much, probably, but just, hey.
Catches last year, right? I mean, what are we talking about?
Well, you gave up a third to get him?
A 3.
Yeah, so if you're trying to just say, hey, and that's why this question, could you target a wide receiver 3? Do you want a first-round player as your third option? That I don't see. But you're saying is there a player that you think they would like enough to say, yeah, we'll do that?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a player that they see as a starting wide receiver in this league, they're at 32, and he's higher graded than the edge rushers that are left or the offensive. I mean, what would push down those wide receivers, right? Would be a run on those defensive ends and interior defensive linemen, maybe offensive linemen. So if that's there, then sure, okay. Best player available.
I like this pick here from this is Connor in Absecon. Which position would make the Eagles most likely to trade up from 32? Corner, offensive tackle, or wide receiver? I would imagine defensive line would need to be on this list too.
Yeah. So let's put it. It would be offensive it would be defensive tackle or edge first. Offensive tackle potentially. Corner. I don't know. I think there's going to be some pretty good corners in the top 50, unless there's one guy that, again, like Will Johnson, if they love Will Johnson and for whatever reason he's there at 27 and you only have to move up a little bit to get him maybe, they do that. But I really think that if they're going up, it's for a Walter Nolan or a real very, very good offensive tackle who can be Lane Johnson's successor, but also play right guard right away if they need to.
This is a good question. Scott in Middle Township, could the Eagles package 32 with a day 2 pick to land an immediate impact veteran that they've done in the past?
Absolutely.
Is that something we're not talking about enough?
Probably, because you don't hear about the guys who are available until they become available. Like, who knew A.J. Brown was going to get traded to the Eagles until A.J. Brown got traded to the Eagles, right? Who knew DeAndre Swift was going to become available until the day the Lions took Jahmyr Gibbs? So you don't know who's available. You can kind of look around for guys who are 3 years into a 5-year rookie deal and haven't been extended yet at safety, at corner. There aren't that many positions I think they would do it to. I think just maybe either safety or corner they would do that for. Or maybe an edge rusher who's just, for whatever reason, available.
All right, Phil and Brigantine. Geoff, can the Eagles trade compensatory picks from next year not knowing exactly what their draft positions would be?
I do not believe they can do that until they actually know what the comp pick is. What they can do is trade their own draft picks in certain rounds, knowing or at least being confident that they're going to get comp picks in that round to make up and compensate for it.
Yeah, I would imagine he would not be able to trade those future picks there.
Yeah, a long time ago, you could not trade comp picks even when you were awarded them. Now you can trade comp picks after you're awarded them, but I do not think you can trade them before you are awarded them.
All right, Geoff Mosher, draft tomorrow night, right? Finally, it's here.
All right, about time.
The Eagles make their pick tomorrow night or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're either going to pick a 32 or trade up.
Okay. Well, we'll be following it all. Now, what's tomorrow? Are you on tomorrow, or I'm all confused this week?
I believe I am.
Perfect. All right. Well, I like that. We'll have you on tomorrow. We'll do some more mailbag stuff tomorrow. So send them in now for Geoff tomorrow. We have more left over, but I'm going to keep them for tomorrow because there's some good stuff. And tomorrow we'll really bring some interesting stuff because it will be draft day. We will be live. We'll be at the Ocean Gallery Bar booking games. And you guys have anything happening tomorrow for our listeners that want to follow you guys tomorrow night?
We will have a pre-draft show up on the platform, both the YouTube and the podcast platform early. And then because the Eagles will probably pick late, what we decided is we always get Greg Cosell on with us. We're going to have him on Friday morning recap the pick that they make Thursday night. So up Friday morning pretty early will be the Greg Cosell assessment and analysis and tape evaluation of the player that the Eagles pick.
Got it.
Hopefully they pick somebody.
Well, check out the Inside the Birds platform for all of their draft coverage. And, of course, tomorrow's Football at 4. Geoff Mosher is back, and he'll answer more of your mailbag questions tomorrow. Thanks, man.
All right, go Phils.